Tick-tock, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. This is This Week in Jihad, and I am David Wood. Wait a minute, no. David Wood is here. I'm Spencer, and we have moved This Week in Jihad over to the WNBA of the YouTube channels, the Jihad Watch channel, which has been largely dormant, but it is here with us tonight. And I thank all 19 people who are watching, and maybe a couple more even have shown up since then. We're not sure how this is going to go. We're not sure how this is going to work because, as David pointed out to me just moments ago, it has always been up to now that I was the guest with the news, and he was the host. Now I'm the host with the news, and David is providing color commentary. So think of him as sort of the Vin Scully of This Week in Jihad. And I know that perhaps yeah, exactly. Yeah, you look it up. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, This Week in Jihad is dedicated to tracking jihad activity. Now, you might think this was pointless and weird because jihad, after all, is an interior spiritual struggle, a supreme act of love and charity and kindness, and consequently, why would anybody want to track it? But what we are doing, in fact, is discussing the manifestations of what the media, the establishment media in the United States would tell us. Somebody said, turn up the volume. I'm gonna try to do that by bringing the actual microphone closer. And
you should in that program also have some volume controls.
I do I? See, I don't.
Yeah,
I know nothing.
Do you see any sound levels around?
Sound levels, yes, they actually look quite healthy.
And there should be a button underneath those, and you can actually slide it to make it louder.
I don't see that. It is great mystery.
Hey,
but yes,
there's like three columns, but there's only two of us.
Oh, there are three columns. See, there are three columns. This I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I know nothing about how to do this. Now,
guys, this is the first time Robert's used this program, so we're going to be troubleshooting a bit through here.
How do I get rid of this? All I do is add another when I click on it.
If I recall, towards the top of the screen, you have some different little images there.
Yeah, various thumbs up, thumbs down.
No, I mean, like, do you see a couple little different camera angles? Hey, you added one there. That's pretty cool.
What did I add?
Now they're four. Oh, now they're three. So what are you doing?
I don't know. Oh, hey, there we go.
Now we have four.
Oh, I have two on my screen.
Oh.
What do you see?
I'm watching on a delay.
Oh, so maybe two will happen in a minute once the delay is through.
Yeah, in theory. Yeah. People are saying there's an echo, and that it's there we go. Now I see two columns. People are saying there's an echo. They think it's coming from me. So you might need to break down a story while I run and grab some headphones.
Headphones, eh? But I don't have headphones. Am I causing the echo?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes there's an echo. But people are saying they think it's because of me, and it that might make sense. So
okay,
I'm going. As everyone can see, I'm moving. So people who are complaining about my camera, there is no camera. This is the thing in the laptop. My camera's in not one of these boxes. These are all books, but one of these boxes. All right. I'm going to try and find some headphones. I know I can't because mine are buried, but I can get some from my kit.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that was David Wood, the great master of Islam. And he's gone to get some headphones. There is, you might notice, a certain freewheeling and improvisational tone to this week's show. This is because of my unaccustomed change to the host's seat, which is very strange to me. And I love all these people saying David sounds like Allah with the echo. Maybe you could do some Quran recitation.
You're the one who wrote the Quran.
Indeed. No, indeed, as it were.
All right, how's
anyway,
that?
So David is here. David is back. Is the echo gone, ladies and gentlemen?
Is the echo gone? Was it me?
Tell
Check,
us
check,
about
check.
the echo. Check. Yes, our jihad is to figure this out. That's very true.
We knew this was going to happen. I said beforehand we'd be doing a lot of troubleshooting.
I thought it was going to be a bit more solid and professional. I confess, I perhaps had a presumption of professionalism that was overstated.
How can this be professional when I don't even have my Jihadi Tears mug? I'm sitting here drinking out of a red cup.
Well, there you have it. But, ladies and gentlemen...
Oh, wait, here you go, Robert.
Okay, now you're professional.
Yep.
Okay, David seems to be a double input source. Now, that's an interesting question.
Nope, they're saying the echo is from you.
Yeah, that's what I see. But what would be the double input? I have a microphone right here, but it's set for that.
The reason is you're listening to me through your computer speakers, right? Hey, now I don't hear you at all. What happened?
I don't know what.
Okay, so you're listening to me through the speakers, but they're hearing me both through the program and through your microphone. That's why there's an echo, because there could be a slight difference from it. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes it does.
Should I axe the microphone and go with the inbuilt speakers?
All you would need to do is put in some headphones, and then there's no problem, because then you're hearing me through headphones, and they can't hear that, whereas they're hearing me through your speakers right now.
Okay, well then I'm going to have to get up and leave for a moment.
You're going to have to get up and leave. I will entertain people.
Okay.
I'm the color commentator. All right. Glad we finally got rid of him. Am I right? So now we can learn the truth about jihad. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, Robert Spencer realized that he could get rich by attacking jihad, and that he would have a totally easy life from then on. If you want to live the good life forever, you just become a counter jihadi. And
see, what's terrible about headphones is how you look wearing them. But I know vanity is a vice. Do we have the echo gone?
Hey, you got to look around, because months ago I sent you a package and it had some Beats by Dre, which I think actually look good on people in a suit, because they're nice small ones, so they're around there somewhere.
There they are. You're right.
I have to say, you're rocking those though, Robert. You're rocking that metallic blue.
Okay, but David, I have to confess, they're still unopened here.
Oh no, you're good. You were good with the blue ones. I thought those were awesome.
Okay, that's what I have to do for now.
Once I saw them, I was hooked.
Well,
all of a sudden you look like you went 20 years into the future. And bought some cool futuristic headphones.
I did. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for staying with the most unprofessional broadcast ever. And now I'm out of focus. This does happen to me occasionally. I was told earlier, actually on a show earlier today, to hold your hand up, and there it is. It worked. And I can still hear you, David. Is that right?
Can you?
I can.
Awesome.
I was not going to sell the headphones. I just confess I forgot they existed because I never used them. Anyway. Yeah, we could do an unboxing. See, there are people out there, they make money doing things like opening stuff up on camera. I don't understand that. But anyway, now, Jihad. We should do some Jihad. It's 8/11. And no Jihad yet. So I suppose the big news is that an Azeri gentleman named Khalid Mehdiev was caught outside the home of the very courageous Iranian dissident Masih Alinejad. I don't know if you saw this, David. He was outside her house for 2 days. And he had an AK-47 in his car and a million, I believe it was $1 million in cash. I don't know what the cash was supposed to do to hurt her, but the AK, it's pretty clear. And he said when he was caught that, the volume is down again. It's always something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put the mic over here. Let's see. How's that? Is that any better?
You can also raise your volume, theoretically, if it's not already maxed up, by going and clicking on the apple.
Click on the apple.
Click the apple, then click System Preferences.
System Preferences.
Then
Sound?
click on Sound.
Sound. Headphones.
And then I think should be, output volume. And
Output
you can increase
volume.
that.
I'm increasing it. How's that? Now the
Yeah,
volume
and
is right, says Infidel. Thank you, Infidel.
Now the question is, are we even? Are we even, everyone? Are we roughly even? If I'm talking like this, breaking things down, exposing Robert.
Are we even?
Are we even?
Are we even? Or are we odd?
Are we even? Because I can adjust mine here.
No one said Jihad is easy.
No one said Jihad is easy.
I never heard that Kamala Harris. I don't think Kamala Harris is a secret Muslim enough.
No.
She's never shown any indication of being such. I mean, of course, the entire establishment is completely, willfully ignorant, but that's another story.
Although I have to say, if you took her sort of her word salads and jumbled them all together, she could claim to be a prophet like Muhammad and claim that she's finally written something as good as the Quran and met the standard of the Quran.
No, indeed. I all these people saying I'm lower. I don't know if this is a moral evaluation.
Did you crank up the output volume?
I cranked it up, man. It's at 11. Going back to make sure.
I can always turn mine down a little.
Yes.
There we
The
go.
output
I think we're good
volume
now.
is at the height.
Check.
Yes.
All right, people. They're just gonna have to live with any sound differences now, because we've got a lot of Jihad to talk about.
You're
I'll
right.
scoot back like this, and you can all stop whining. Robert has clearly never done this before. Cut him
Never.
some slack. Is this how you guys treat your kids, right? Your kid's up to bat for the first time. He strikes you. Oh, you idiot. What are you doing? Don't know how to do anything.
You're right. He's right. You got to admit. In your heart, you know he's right. Anyway, so this guy, it has to be noted, it's an Azeri name, Mehdiev. And there's, of course, a very significant Azeri minority in Iran. He was sitting outside her house for 2 days. The Iranians tried to kill her last year, or kidnap her and bring her back to Iran. And so it does seem as if this is yet another attempt on Masih Alinejad's life by the Islamic Republic. And that they are acting with relative impunity in the United States these days. David, take it away.
All I'm saying is you can't keep concluding stuff based on someone having an AK-47 and $1 million. I mean, who doesn't have an AK-47 and $1 million sitting around? You know what I mean?
You
I
got it.
got I got an AK-47 in one of these boxes and $1 million in one of these other boxes.
Well, there you go. Are you going to go sit outside somebody's house for 2 days?
I might.
I'll bring you some pizza.
Nice.
So anyway, also out of Iran, a father killed his 16-year-old daughter, Ariana Lashkari, with a hunting shotgun. And he explained that, actually, a relative of theirs explained that this was done because she wanted to live without restrictions. And so this brings us to the famous instance of honor killing of people who are killed because they offend against the honor of the family. And one of the most infamous and notorious instances of that took place in Dallas or Irving, Texas, on New Year's Day 2008. And this was Yasser Saeed and his two teenage daughters, Amina and Sarah Saeed. Yasser was an immigrant from Egypt. And anyway, Yasser Saeed was on the run for many years. He was finally caught, and he's finally about to stand trial. And I put these two together because clearly when you have something that happens in two so vastly disparate places as in Iran and in Dallas, Texas, you've got something that's a phenomenon that is more than just an isolated incident in both cases. And you've got something that actually is rooted in the Islamic beliefs and assumptions about the rights of the father over the children. And that is rooted ultimately in the Quran, chapter 18, where it says that Moses is traveling with this strange unnamed character and he kills a boy. Moses asks him to explain, and he says he did it because he knew the boy was going to grow up to be unrighteous and the parents deserved a better child.
I want to go back, way back, because 2008 we had the Saeed sisters, and they get killed, and then that was the next year with Rifka Berry, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes, it was.
And so Rifka Berry said that her dad threatened to kill her. She ran away, went to live with a Christian husband and wife. Had told them online, my dad said he's going to kill me. And then it seems like all the media went into an uproar about how dare you take this girl seriously. And then it was you and Pamela Geller, and this is really when. Did you guys have that kind of national attention before that?
It's all so long ago. There was that, and there was the Ground Zero Mosque, and it was all happening around the same time. But I think Rivka may have been before the Ground Zero Mosque, if I recall correctly.
I think that was a bit before, but yeah, you're right. It is kind of blurry back then. But
Yeah.
I just remember how insane all of that sounded, because that's when I was getting started on YouTube. In fact, that was the first video I ever posted that I just made for YouTube, sitting in front of my bookshelf. It was Rifka Berry and the death penalty for apostasy in Islam, because Rifka converted to Christianity. Her dad threatened to kill her, and then every politician, all the journalists, all the educators, all Muslim groups, they all started saying there's no death penalty for apostasy in Islam, you liars. It shows you how much times have changed, because now, I mean, almost all of the popular Muslim apologists, you guys got to die. These apostates all got to die as soon as we get in control. So very common now to have them admit it. But back then, you were insane. You were insane for saying that Islam has this death penalty for apostasy, and the argument was, and I heard Pamela say this. She said, "Look, you need to err on the side of caution here." So the idea is, look, suppose you're 99% certain this girl is just lying and making up a story because she's a drama queen or something like that. Suppose you're like 90, unless you're 100% sure. There's a 1% chance she's going back to her death. You might want to give her the benefit of the doubt and take her seriously. Instead, you guys were all monsters. She had the most loving father in the entire world. I remember that. I remember where they would say, "And her doting father, blah 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 blah," and they'd go on this list of how he's crying for her because he loves her so much and so on. And yep. And fortunately, I recall that was one of the times the government was at least smart enough to not make her go home.
It was still being fought out, though, when she turned 18. It was just because she turned 18 the whole thing ended. And also, it's
Yeah.
worth noting that she herself invoked Amina and Sarah. She knew that they had been killed and was well aware of the implications and well aware that she was in line for the same kind of treatment. Also, does my memory serve me right, David, that you and I actually first met when you and Nabil were at
Yep.
a rally for Rivka, and I believe it might have been our own rally for Rivka, and you
Yeah.
guys came.
I've got the video of Nabil um, interviewing you,
Yeah,
and he walks up to you, and he comes up to you with a microphone. And he says, when I was a Muslim, I heard you were the devil himself."
yeah. I just got that again the other day. There's this guy on Twitter. He's totally nuts, and he did this wonderful little uh, video of me upside down in hell with the flames leaking up and everything. And he used the picture that I have there on Twitter. And I've got this little grin. And I think it's just the oddest, most. It's the most incongruous effect ever. Because I'm there happily suspended upside down in hell. But of course, he's right that this is something that Muslims threaten people with quite often, the being upside down in hell. And I remember Iranian women talking about how they were told at the time that the Islamic regime came into power that if they didn't wear the hijab, they would be suspended by their hair upside down in hell. And so this is the guy is not original who's making these
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind, going back to the Saeed sisters, um, I was still pretty. I mean, I was still pretty new to what the situation was with the media and entertainers and all these people, because I had seen after 9/11, I had seen journalists bending over backwards for Islam and so on, but back then I kind of understood it. I understood it in the sense of, okay, well, you don't want a backlash against Muslims. You don't want a bunch of people going, "Oh, they took down the towers. We're going to go on a killing spree." So, you know, I thought it was, I thought I could kind of understand it. But then when you get to like the Rifka Berry situation, and it's like you're saying this, you journalists are saying this doesn't happen, and that when a girl tells you her family is threatening to kill her, you mock her and anyone who supports her. And we know that it happened. We know that it happens. We know for a fact that it happens. In fact, it just happened. It just happened. You guys know it happened. And like after the fact, oh, so regrettable that no one did anything to stop this. And then when someone actually tries to stop it, you guys all blast. That's when I started realizing, wow, this is sick. This is not, I mean, this is evil.
Mhm.
This is evil. And then of course, following that, you have the grooming gangs in the UK and everything else that's happened since then. And just no matter what happens, the disturbing part is no matter what happens, the built-in inclination of journalists was, hey, that Muslim over there just slaughtered a bunch of people in the name of Allah. let's get these representatives from CARE on to tell everyone about true Islam and what true Islam is. So it was like the more people they killed, the more free airtime for dawah they got. Yep. And every media organization in the world, it just seemed like, hey guys, the more people you slaughter in the name of Allah, the more time we'll give you to promote your religion on our channels. And it was just like, I mean, if you were right, if you didn't know what was going on and you wrote a work of fiction about like the stupidest, most insane people in the world, this would be unbelievable, right? I mean, this, what's actually going on would be too unbelievable. You'd say, we can't even take that seriously as a story, but here we are.
Ain't it the truth? Well, you encountered that in Dearborn with the coverage when you got arrested. And who was that reporter? The reporter with the
Detroit Free Press, Niraj Waraku.
Yes.
Niraj.
He's completely in the pocket of CARE and all the rest of these Muslim Brotherhood organizations. He's practically their propaganda arm, and painted you out as some kind of crazy fanatics.
Yeah, I was standing there holding a camera while my friend answered questions of Muslims who came up to him to ask him questions. And police came. And I mean, this. I wasn't even thinking of this when I was talking about this, but yes, this is another perfect example of how insane they are. I mean, we're walking through a festival to make sure we weren't going, because we were physically attacked the year before. And we told police we don't want anyone arrested. We just want people to understand that they can't put their hands on people that they disagree with. So let them know that. And then police said, no problem. This year, they all understand they can't put their hands on you and stuff. So we go back to make sure that everything is fine. And there's no violence. We're walking around. No one's putting their hands on us. And then a group of like 15-year-olds come up to Nabil and they're asking questions. They're asking like, how can you believe Jesus is God? How can you believe in the Bible? There's so many Bibles. And they're asking the sorts of questions that Nabil is loving to answer them. We're about to invite these guys out to IHOP to go continue the conversation, afterwards. And then police come, grab us all, throw us in jail, right? Not the Muslims, not the Muslim kids. Mm-hmm. They grabbed us, the Christians. And the fact that when journalists reported this, we were the ones who were sick and evil, and police had to stop us because we were there screaming at people and inciting a riot. And it's like, you're just liars, and you don't care. And so it's another perfect example. It's anytime there's a story, we have to show that we're on the correct side of things by praising Islam as much as possible and blasting anyone who gets on the wrong side of it. But yep, here we are.
David, well said. I think that calls for, David, we were talking about this before. He showed me this program, but he never used the coolest stuff in it, like anyway, I'll try to keep it down.
Hey, let's try it. Let's try a quick troubleshoot here. I'm wondering if it's picking up your computer mic or your actual your external mic.
It says my external mic.
Okay, just you can test that by pulling the mic up to your face real quick. Just making sure.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, why do you have it all the way over there?
Because that's where the table is.
Oh, well, what's in front of you right here?
What's in front of me right here is air.
I have mine right in front of my face, see?
But there's air here. There's nothing there.
You can't pull up closer to a desk?
I guess I could, but
guys, you see what I'm working with here? Robert's like, oh, the microphone? Yeah, it's over here in the other room. I don't see what the problem is.
No,
Robert, why is it in the other room? Well, the table's in the other room.
My keyboard is here. What am I supposed to do with the keyboard?
What are you typing on?
Everything's getting messed up. So, okay, the microphone's right here. It's still just as far away as it was there.
But you're speaking towards it. I think that's better.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know how I'm going to type tomorrow with the keyboard over here sideways.
You can move it. You can move stuff around. I got to get you a clip-on mic or something.
All right.
No, No, what I could get you, but I'd have to show you how to use it. We could get those. If you've ever seen like a podcast, everyone uses the same Shure mic. I have one. I haven't used it, but they all use the same Shure mic, but it's on a mic stand, right? So actually hangs in front of you. You can adjust it, and put
Oh
it right
yeah,
up
those
to
are
your
cool
face.
looking. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. Yes.
Hey, Robert, you know what's funny?
What's
You know
that?
what's funny? It's like, so here we are. We don't always know what we're doing, with, technologically, but worst case scenario with us messing up technologically, troubleshooting, trying to figure something out. Worst case scenario, we look stupid during a live stream. But when the jihadis are messing around with the technological stuff, they
Yeah.
mess up and they blow up. They blow themselves up,
There
and we
used
all
to
see
be
about
so
it.
many stories like that. I haven't seen any lately, but years ago there were quite a few that would come out of Afghanistan in particular. Accident in Quran class, explosion, bomb
Yeah,
making class in a mosque, and
yeah.
nobody ever. AP and Reuters are reporting this, and nobody ever says, "Wait a minute, a bomb making class in a mosque?" But it's a religion of peace. Nobody cared. You know how it is. Sorry.
I should have I should have contacted Ecamm and told them to make sure you don't get access to sound effects.
I don't know, David. I think that they can be effective in some contexts. I should have had them for my last debate, but anyway. Now, back to jihad. Serious stuff here. Very serious stuff. In France, a young man went into a church, and a man came up to him and confronted him because he was yelling in the middle of a mass in Saint Germain Church in Yvelines in France. And anyway, he headbutted him, and he referred to the Christians in a pejorative way that I will not repeat here. And he said he had come there to pray as a Muslim. And of course, most of the people were thinking, what do you mean pray as a Muslim? He's obviously insane. But obviously, if he's come to the church to pray as a Muslim, then what is it too loud now, Helen? Is that what she's telling me?
You're not too loud.
Okay. And I mean, after all this, but anyway, uh, so he's claiming the place for Islam, and the problem is that that can lead to more jihad activity because now that he has said that he wants to pray there as a Muslim, if another Muslim is aware of that, then well, you know what can happen, David.
I do.
So that's good color commentary there. I do. Uh,
Uh, they don't call me the best color commentator in the counter jihad movement for nothing, Robert.
you are a regular Vin Scully. Okay, now this is serious stuff, so we got to be very serious here, David, because we have in also in France a Muslim migrant from Afghanistan, and the cops are searching for the motive because he started to stab people at random, random passersby, while uttering words in Arabic, says Le Figaro. Now, I would ask you, I don't know, I wasn't there, but what do you bet he was uttering in Arabic, David? What do you think it might have been?
Uh, it's either peace and love or Allahu Akbar.
I think you're right about that. I think that it's very likely to have been Allahu Akbar. In Uganda, in point of fact, not too long ago, there was a Christian who went to an open air debate with a pastor, an open air debate between Christians and Muslims. And after the debate, 8 Muslims became Christian. And so this angered the assembled Muslims who did not convert, and they began to follow the Christians home. And they were shouting. What do you think they were shouting, David?
Um, We want tolerance or Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar once again. And so,
Allah's a mouse.
yes, exactly. And so they actually, these Christian preachers, they of course had a Quran with them. And the assailants very carefully separated out the Quran. And interestingly enough, in light of many claims that Muslims do not engage in this behavior, they burned the Bibles after separating the Qurans out. And they killed one of the Christians and thrashed the others. In, of course, very common kind of story all over Africa, particularly in Nigeria these days. As we have noted, David, in the past, the jihad is advancing very quickly in West Africa and is expanding outside of Nigeria. First, we saw stories from Cameroon, from Niger, from the surrounding areas. Then recently, we saw Benin, where I had not seen jihad activity in all these years of 20 years of Jihad Watch. And just the other day I saw a story, it was more than a week ago, so I don't have it open here now, but in the few weeks between our shows here, David, there was a jihad attack in Togo, which is also in West Africa, and never saw a jihad attack there before. There was one other Jihad Watch entry about an incident from many years ago. And so it's all spreading, as, of course, we could have warned you and have warned you that it would.
I didn't think there was any jihad for the last couple weeks because the only place I hear about it is from you.
Well, you got a point there, yes. In France, yes.
Isn't that weird though? Like,
yeah, all these things happen, heinous crimes, murders, and nobody reports on it.
And I mean, like, the stuff that they actually report on, it's almost all like something that annoys them politically or something like that. But it's none of it is as serious as, you know, people being slaughtered in the name of Allah around the world over and over again. And it's interesting how the media can do this. The media could think of any problem in the world, no matter how insignificant, and just bombard you with that story over and over again, all day, every day.
Yep.
And you'd think that it's the biggest problem in the world, and you'd ignore other things that are actually a threat, a huge threat to the world.
No doubt about it. And Nigeria, it just goes on, and nobody reports on it. It does not exist as far as the establishment media is concerned, and also as far as the Nigerian government is concerned. There's increasing suspicion, increasing anger on the part of Christians in Nigeria who charge the government with complicity, and I think with very good reason, because this is going on practically a daily basis at this point. Nothing is being done.
And we've said before, we've talked before about how important that part of the world is. The West acts like it's completely insignificant, but you've had from the time of Muhammad on that whenever jihad can advance and spread Islam, it does, and it keeps moving further. And the goal is always, let's keep moving further. We can move quickly if we have our armies crushing people ahead of us. But even if we don't, even if we can't move quickly, if we're not strong enough to move quickly, the idea is just slowly push that line back further and further, year after year. I mean, think if you push 1 inch a month, right? But you do this over year after year after year after year after year, and suddenly you're getting some serious ground here. And a place like Nigeria, where you have vast Muslim majority up there and vast Christian majority down here, they're trying to push that line. They're trying to push that line all the way through Nigeria. And that happens to be a really, really important country in Africa. But the goal is once you've pushed your way through there, then you just keep pushing down. Mm-hmm. And so it's you've got Christians there who are standing their ground, and they're being slaughtered for it. And the entire world looks the other direction.
Happening now. Okay, let's see. Here we go. David, this is a little bit of a curve, but in Egypt, there was a Muslim. There's actually video of this gentleman if you wanted to see it on Jihad Watch. He is he walked into a warehouse in which alcoholic beverages were stored in Egypt, and he confronted the two Christians that ran the place over there selling alcohol and stabbed them. And then he went out on the street covered with blood. That's what the video shows. And what did he say, David? This is a little bit of a curve, like I said.
I'm catching on. I'm just gonna jump right to Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar is not actually correct in this case.
Oh man! So
Yeah.
I'm 487 and one now.
What he said was, La ilaha illa Allah. There is no God but Allah. And you can see it quite clearly on the video. So ultimately, it amounts to the same thing, that he is saying there's no God but Allah after stabbing two Christians for selling alcohol. Incidentally, it's worth noting that many times Islamic apologists in the West, this is another one of those things I don't think they say anymore, but they used to say, right after 9/11, very often, Sharia only applies to Muslims. It doesn't apply to non-Muslims, so non-Muslims don't need to worry about it. But obviously Sharia does apply to non-Muslims, or nobody would have been upset with these Christians for selling alcohol.
Um, you know, I think that we may be more effective than we realize because we've been telling people that the Hebrew word for mouse is Akbar. And so when Muslims say Allahu Akbar, it sounds like they're saying Allah is a mouse. And so he might have realized that and then say, okay, I can't say this. I can't go around saying Allah's a mouse.
Mhm.
Everyone's going to think I'm calling Allah a mouse.
So we have
And
This
so,
Week in Jihad viewers right in Egypt.
mhm.
Okay, in France. France is a very welcoming, beautiful country, and they have welcomed many Muslims in the last few years. And so recently in Roubaix, in France, I don't know if I'm saying that right. If any French speakers are here, you can perhaps explain to us why they have all those extra letters in every word. But in any case, Roubaix, not Roubaix. And we have a couple of Syrian children, perhaps enraged over all the extraneous letters in French. But they went to a playground and they set fire to it rather than play and went away. What were they yelling as they left, David? What do you think?
Well, now I got two choices.
Now it's
I can
gotten
go
so
with
much harder.
the Allahu Akbar or the La ilaha illallah. I'm gonna stick with the tried and true classic Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar is indeed what these children said. So you get the prize yet again. Really,
I get the cookie.
yes, the Jihad Jeopardy it's gonna be a great show.
And I just as you were just talking about France, I remembered very briefly some old commercials from France trying to get people to, you know, take trips to France, take their vacations in France and so on. Come to France, let's fall in love, blah, 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 blah. And then I was thinking, we could make a fake commercial where they're inviting jihadis. They're inviting jihadis to France. But
Yes.
have it like sound real, be showing the Eiffel Tower and all this other nonsense, pointless nonsense they've got over there. And then is talking about how everyone should come to France for how people should come to France for a vacation. But over time, you figure out they're inviting specifically jihadis in, but then it could kind of switch to footage of all the terrorist attacks that they have like every week there
Mhm.
because of their stupid policies. Anyway, this is one of those ideas that I blurt out and then I forget about, and then like people 6 months from now will go, "Hey, what'd you do with that commercial?" And I won't remember ever saying coming up with the idea.
It's a great idea, but we still got to do Jeopardy. All right, I got another one out of France since we're on France and the beauties of the Fifth Republic. We have Hassan Iqiyoussen. Hassan Iqiyoussen was an imam in France for many years. His 10-year residence permit was just up for renewal just recently, and French authorities were shocked because Hassan Iqiyoussen was explaining how terrible the Jews were. And they were shocked. They were absolutely amazed that an imam would be anti-Semitic. And he
Yeah,
was,
that's a
it's a real head scratcher, and his residence
that's a
permit was
shocker.
not renewed. Yeah. And
That's
I
a
think,
shocker. But
what are the French going to do when they find out what the other imams think?
yeah, that's a. But I started laughing because you said there's an imam in France, and then I immediately thought where the naked ladies dance, and
At least until they get control.
yeah, then they have to wait till they're in paradise to get all their naked ladies dancing.
Indeed. Translucent skin and all.
Yeah, that's my favorite, criterion of a super hot lady.
Yes. Can you see her
Translucent
bones through her
skin.
skin?
Yes, can I see her veins and bones through her skin?
Speaking of
Guys,
nudity,
if you don't know what we're talking about, that's what Muhammad said about how hot the ladies of paradise are. Their skin is so clear you can see their bones through it.
it's because he was a white supremacist, and
It's because
so
he's a creep.
he well yeah, but he wanted them to be so white
Hmm.
that they were clear, that you could see their bones.
Yep.
No melanin.
Yeah.
Uh,
Zero. No pigmentation of any kind, so you're like clear as glass.
Speaking of nudity, David, an imam in Turkey is absolutely disgusted. Halil Konachi of the Maliki Hatun Mosque in Ankara. He says women are walking around. It's like the meat and butcher shops. We're disgusted by seeing flesh now. Don't these women have fathers, brothers, husbands? Don't you have a conscience when your daughter or wife go out in the street like that? Now, we as Westerners, we find this odd, but there's an ominous edge to what he's saying. Can you explain perhaps to us this ominous edge?
Um, no, I got momentarily distracted.
By the the meat in the butcher shops.
No, no, no. Black Angel posted jellyfish hories, and then I was. I realized that's the perfect example of what the skin would be like a jellyfish, right? You can kind of see through it.
Indeed. Exactly.
No, indeed.
No, indeed.
No, indeed. All right, now back to your jihad topic. No more jellyfish hoodies.
Yeah, see this guy, though, he's saying this is
Okay.
terrible. The women are like, it's like butcher shops out on the street. All
Mhm.
this meat out. And don't you have any shame? But there's a threat to this because the whole idea of the hijab, the whole idea of women being covered is to prevent temptation on the part of men. If the men are tempted anyway, it's their fault. The women's fault, that is, not the men's. And so this is the basis for these honor killings, like we talked about earlier, the one in Iran. And interestingly enough, we were talking about the honor killing in Dallas, and Yasser Saeed is finally going to stand trial. Another detail about that is that he was not only upset with his daughters for not covering, but for dating non-Muslims. And what's interesting about that, in terms of what we were discussing earlier about the press, David, is that the reports were at the time of the killings that the father was upset because they were dating non-Muslims. But today I saw a news story that said that this guy's about to stand trial, and it said he was upset because his daughters were dating. And I saw another story a few days ago. It said he was upset because his daughters were dating Americans. Both of those are absolutely false. He would not have been upset if they were dating Muslims. He was upset because they were dating non-Muslims, and that's against Islamic law.
Mm-hmm.
Not that dating is all that popular in an Islamic context, but the problem was that they were non-Muslims. The problem was not that they were Americans or just that they existed.
And then you get an honor killing.
Exactly. Okay, so let's see. More out of Nigeria. Terrible story here. Fulanis, the jihadis, the jihadi herdsmen, as they are often called in the Western media, stormed into a village, killed 8 people, and amputated the hand of a 5-month-old baby. And I found that baffling because Surah 538 says you amputate the hand of a thief. But what on earth, why would you amputate the hand of a baby?
You stole a toy.
Maybe so. Maybe he grabbed something that he shouldn't have grabbed, but just gratuitously horrible. In Russia, the Mufti of Russia, what's his name? Talgat Tazuddin, who is the chairman of the Central Spiritual Board of Muslims of Russia, speaking in Ufa, the capital of the Russian Republic of Bashkiria. And he said, you can see why, why they drink so much vodka there. But anyway.
And he said, I must break you.
Exactly. Yes. Go for it. Anyway, Mufti Talgat Tazuddin in Ufa, he said, we are proud of our vast motherland and our worthy national leader, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. And he went on to say that the West was dominated, or the Western nations are minions of the Antichrist. And I thought, well, okay, I got to grant you that. But in any case, he went on to say, gay people have no rights. To be gay is a crime against Allah. The Prophet Muhammad ordered the killing of homosexuals. And I thought, well, that's interesting, since you will find many Islamic apologists talking about Muhammad's tolerance and how sweet he was to everybody. It's, the Mufti of Russia, he has a different story.
I wanted to say to Wyatt. Wyatt said he's having a community live stream. Wyatt, send me some info about that. I'll see if I can jump in.
Okay, we got a dog story out of Iran. 1,700 dogs killed as regime agents raid a dog shelter. And of course, Islam hates dogs, David.
So these aren't dogs running through the streets. These are dogs in a dog shelter.
That's right. Gratuitously put to death because Muhammad ordered the killing of dogs.
Yeah, and that is an interesting chain of events in the Muslim sources back then, where Muhammad was waiting for the angel Gabriel for their meeting, and Gabriel didn't show up. And later on, Muhammad finds out that it's because of a puppy. There was a puppy in there. And then so Gabriel is scared of dogs, apparently. So that puppy terrified him, and he couldn't come around him. So Muhammad ordered his followers to kill all dogs. And it said they were just going around killing dogs, killing the dogs of Bedouins and so on. They were killing all dogs. But then some people started complaining, wait a minute, we use these dogs for hunting and so on. So we actually, we use these dogs. And so then it became, okay, not all dogs, because, some of them, can be used for hunting and stuff like that. And eventually just say, okay, kill the black dogs, definitely, because those ones have a devil. And here we are, 14 centuries later, and from an Islamic perspective, guess what? Those dogs in that shelter, they're not guard dogs. They're not hunting dogs. And so, according to Muhammad, those dogs had to die. It was only dogs that served specific purposes that were allowed to survive.
Exactly. So, David, I also got Carlos the Jackal. Speaking of dogs, Carlos the Jackal is an international terrorist. He was very infamous for being responsible for the deaths of over 1,500 people.
Is he
And
still alive? Is he still
yes, he
alive? I thought he was
is.
dead.
He's still
Wow.
alive. He was just
Yep.
interviewed last week.
Yeah, he was in the I read The Born Identity when I was like in middle school, and he it was a work of fiction, but they made Carlos the Jackal, the guy that Jason Bourne was fighting with at the end.
Well, Carlos the Jackal was a real communist terrorist. But in this recent interview, it's very interesting. He says this. I'll just read out what he says. My name is Ilich Ramirez Sanchez, and the media calls me Carlos the Jackal. I am from Venezuela. My Venezuelan parents have long passed. I am a communist, just like my father, a Stalinist communist. Folks, if you haven't studied communism, Stalinist communists are the worst kind. Because what makes you a Stalinist is a kind of endorsement of violent absolutism at the top, such that you would murder all your enemies, and if the state says that that's good that you did that, then it's good. And the state is the moral compass, without question. So anyway, he's a Stalinist. But listen to this. I believe in God. I am a Sunni Muslim. I believe in the goal of Palestine. I was the first non-Arab person to join the Palestinian struggle. I have killed at least 83 people myself, and between 1,500 to 2,000 have been killed at my command. My Palestinian name is Salim Muhammad.
Carlos the Jackal.
Yep. I think most people probably don't know that he is a devout Muslim, and that he no doubt thinks that the killing that he has carried out in the cause of Allah is something that Allah will reward him for doing.
Yeah, that should have been in The Born Identity.
Yeah, it's
Why
just it
they
works
leave
just
that
the
part out?
opposite. There were Tom Clancy wrote a novel, The Sum of All Fears, where the jihadis were the villains, and when they made it into a movie, Care complained, and so the movie version has Nazis, but in the book they're jihadis.
Yeah, that was like they tried to remake Red Dawn. Well, they did remake Red Dawn a few years ago, but the villains were supposed to be the Chinese, and then the Chinese complained, and so they made it North Koreans.
There
So
you go.
the story is North Koreans were taking over the United States, and so it became ridiculous.
Yeah,
Because like in the original, it was Russians and Cubans together had launched an invasion and so on, and then so they wanted to update it to China, and then they had to make it North Korea. So it was totally believable. That's why the movie did so well. No one's ever heard of it.
yes, indeed. Well, speaking of totally believable and ridiculous things, I got one more to wrap us up here. I got quite a lot of jihad more, but we are running up against the clock, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Iran's ambassador to Pakistan, Syed Mohammed Ali Husseini, was speaking the other day with the Federal Minister for Human Rights of Pakistan, Mian Riaz Hussein Pirzada. And Syed Mohammed Ali Husseini, the Iranian ambassador to Pakistan, he, in the first place, praised Pakistan's role in successfully countering the menace of Islamophobia. Pakistan has never had any interest in countering the menace of jihad terrorism, but they're very concerned with countering Islamophobia, by which they mean, of course, any honest discussion of jihad activity like what we're doing now. But here it is. Here it gets really good, David. Ali Husseini said that the special focus of the Iranian government is on women's rights and their empowerment.
The whole world has gone Orwellian. We think of Orwellian like Western media and so on, but they got it too. They got it too. It's like you just say you just say the exact opposite. I mean, they're beating women in the streets. They're like beating women in the streets. They're locking them up. They're throwing them in prison. They're raping them before sentencing them to death. And then, this is empowerment. It's women's empowerment.
It is. It's, of course, it's also Shiite Islam. It's the Shiites, let's remember, who invented taqiyya. Taqiyya is based on chapter 3, verse 28 of the Quran, which says that you can deceive unbelievers under certain circumstances. It says that you don't take unbelievers as your friends and protectors in preference to believers, unless you're doing it to guard yourselves against them, which the commentators then say means you can pretend to be on their side when you're not, and various other in various circumstances. But it was the Shiites who invented all this to protect themselves from the Sunnis. And the Shiites have a very specific and very detailed doctrine of taqiyya from which we get the term. And so I think that the ambassador is engaging in a bit. There are many Shiite, those 12 imams that are so important to the Shiites. Many of them have said that taqiyya is the foundation of their religion. It's not just something incidental, much less forgotten or rejected.
And even Ibn Kathir said, quoting when he was quoting Abu ad-Darda and Al-Hasan, said taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection.
So we're not there yet. Yes.
Nope. Still good to go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that brings us to an hour's worth of Jihad. I apologize that there wasn't a full hour of Jihad in this program because of our many technical difficulties, but well, you got to start somewhere, and
absolutely. So it's best to just learn. It's best to just learn as you're doing it. And so like you'll come back next week. You'll come back next week, and then the problems that you figured out this week, you won't have those again. There'll be a couple new problems, but and you'll have to solve those. But after a couple weeks of doing it, then you don't really have any more problems. So Robert will be updating his knowledge of the system, and I will be updating my background once I get my stuff unpacked.
It's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
And so, what was that? It's very nice, really. But anyway, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this has been This Week in Jocularity, and thank you for being here. The jihad, unfortunately, is quite real and quite serious and will continue, and so unfortunately, we will likely, all things being equal, be back next week with more jihad. See you then.
Now we get to see if Robert knows how to turn this off.
I'm working on it. I'm trying. I thought that was a good ending, but this one's going to have to do.